Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, okay.
Carla, that was not enthusiastic at all for a Wednesday.
I literally woke up like 20 minutes ago and like my dad looked at me. He's like, "What are you doing up?" I was like, "I got class." And he was like that. And I was like, "Don't worry about it. It's okay." I was like, "I just need my coffee. It'll be okay."
Yeah, more strength for keeping our meetings to Monday afternoons, right? Awesome. We're just gonna let everybody kind of get in here real quick.
Yeah. How are you doing, Dr. Daly?
Good morning. There's actually a lot more of you guys than I thought there would be this morning, so that's good.
I'm glad we're breaking your expectations.
All right. Well, I'll just keep letting people in as we get going here. So, good morning, everyone. How is week 3 going for you guys? Not today in particular, just week 3 in general. We are on week 3, right? 1, 2, yeah, week 3. So, cool. Are you guys finding a groove or not really? I just really just want to talk with people, so talk to me, please.
It's okay. It's
It's
like
okay.
slowly but surely. Like I think by this week, I'm kind of starting to figure out how like all my classes are trying to like figure it out. Like certain classes never show up. Like some classes don't even touch Zoom, and they only send emails and they tell you, okay, just turn in an assignment, and you're okay.
Mm.
Compared to like others where I do have to log on, like I do have to watch videos, and like I do have to like still do some type of work.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, I think so. It was interesting yesterday. We had a beef unit meeting, and so I just asked that crew, how it was going, and were pretty unanimous that the biggest struggle right now is coordinating due dates between all their classes. Are you guys finding the same thing? Okay.
Yes, I am so lost with that.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So you guys got to tell me, like, if we need to switch things around in this class, we will, but having the constant Friday at 5 due dates, is that working?
Yeah, I think it's working for you, and I appreciate that you use like the Google Calendar like on Blackboard,
Okay.
and like you actually put like everything on there. But like some of my other classes, they'll put like a couple assignments on there, but then there's like more assignments that are due like in that week that they don't put on there. So like that's where it's really confusing, I feel like.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, so I'm trying to tie everything to the grade book. Oh crap. Sorry, for those of you guys that aren't in Chico, we've got massive fires going around Oroville right now, and the whole city of Oroville has pretty much been evacuated south, clear to Palermo and Honcut. And so I'm getting updates because I'm the Cattle Women's president as well. And so we've had a bunch of our members burned out, and we just found out that one of our members lost their entire home, barns, corrals, everything. So it's it's really not a good situation right here now in Butte County. So this is it's super eerie too. So I mean, it's been getting lighter later in the morning, right? So it's not super light until about 7, but like it's just now lightening up to where I can see the orchard that is 30 feet away from me. And so there's a lot of cloud cover and stuff right now, or smoke cover. It's not cloud cover. And so anyway, if you guys are praying, people, just pray for Butte County and the city of Oroville. They don't know how far evacuations are going to go. The only good news is that the winds died down last night, and they're actually blowing from the opposite direction, so it's blowing the fire back into itself right now, which is good. So, but it's crazy. It feels just like the campfire, just that super eerie kind of feeling. So anyway, sorry. Where were we? um, so, okay, due dates. So due dates are working for this class. Okay. So how? The other thing I'm kind of curious about, just between other classes and stuff, are professors making an effort to communicate with you somehow, whether it's email or Zoom or something like that, or not really?
Yeah, like mine definitely give me an email like in the beginning of the week, and then they never speak to me again. And then
Oh.
some like send you like 2 to 3 emails throughout the week just to kind of like remind you, because like yeah, you do kind of forget, and like
Yeah.
there are a lot and it is kind of like a mixture, but it is nice to constantly get a reminder and say, hey guys, like don't forget that this is due, especially like for my physics class, like she asks for it like a lot. So
Mhm.
she's constantly like reminding us, telling me like, hey, did you do this, or hey, don't forget that we have to do this later on. So
Okay.
there's, yeah.
Cool. So I think I finally got the Remind app kind of figured out. So I don't want to bombard your text messages or emails with, a bunch of stuff. So what I'm planning to do is just send one reminder on Thursdays for stuff that is due on Friday. Is that good enough, or do you want it a different time?
I think that's good.
That would be perfect, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, we will roll with that. So,
My animal science professor, Selena Phillips, she uses Remind and it's really helpful for us.
okay, good. Yeah, so she's the one that suggested that we use it. So a bunch of us in the College of Ag are gonna either start using it or have already started using it. So I'm just trying to figure out and be respectful of your guys' inboxes, because they're like mine right now. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I really feel like a glorified IT tech that knows nothing right now. So if you guys have IT questions, send them to ITSS, because I don't know much. So awesome. All right, cool. Well, my whole goal for this morning is to do a couple of things. So first of all, make sure we're recording. We're recording, okay. Is let's just run through due dates and stuff for this week for Blackboard. Make sure everybody's on the same page. And then I want to switch gears and I want to talk about the individual research projects. And I'm going to give you guys that official assignment today. So I posted it on Blackboard this morning, and I'll show you where all that's at. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail explaining about the 2 research projects that are going to be offered for the class, in the hope that you guys will kind of start making a decision. And next Monday, when we meet for the activity session, so either at 2, at 3, or at 4 on Monday afternoon, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into each one of the projects. And I'm going to have you guys in breakout rooms and having conversations about those 2 projects, so that you can start kind of building a train of thought and background about both projects, because we are headed right into the first assignment for the research project, which is creating an outline for the literature review. And so that's where we're headed today. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to chime in and just ask them, or you can type them in chat and I'll try to keep an eye on that. It's just harder to do when I share my screen. So, all right. Any last minute questions before we get going? I don't see anything. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to start with Blackboard. All righty, so you guys should be looking at the home page of Blackboard. If you're not, let me know. Just one quick thing I added. I told you I wouldn't, and then I did, so I'm sorry. But I thought that this might be the easiest way to get the information about the research project. So I added a module over here on the left-hand side underneath the Start Here module. And so that research project we'll come back to in just a second, but we're going to continually be adding to those folders. And so rather than having you guys try to go back to certain weeks where it was posted and piecing information together, I thought having it all together in one menu item would help. All right, so we are here on week 3. And a few of you guys have already, oh, something went wrong. Fantastic, Blackboard. Okay, there we go. And so a few of you guys have already been through the lecture quizzes and stuff, so thank you for doing those. So right now, we are, as far as our due dates and stuff, the only thing that is due right now this Friday is those lecture quizzes. And so if we jump into the lecture folder here, there are 3 different lectures to watch, and they have quiz questions embedded in them. And I'm giving Kaltura like 2 more days to get their poop together because it keeps crashing. And so I will let you guys know, but we may end up having to change from this format to a series of video lectures without questions associated with them, and then a quiz at the end through Blackboard. And I don't know if that changes the workload or not. It just kind of centralizes all the quiz questions into one quiz activity. So, but I don't know. We'll see. The Kaltura thing is a lot of work right now, and it doesn't seem to be working super well because it seems to keep crashing. Sorry, I'm getting another update. Look at it real quick. Okay, sorry. So that the fire just burned through the middle of a 100,000 acre permit, and they are trying to gather cattle out of it in the middle of it right now. So, oh gosh, fire. Okay, sorry, back to Blackboard. So we've just make sure that you guys have on your calendars that you need to watch and take these quizzes associated with these 3 lectures by Friday at 5 p.m. And then this week there's nothing in the activity folder because the assignment I'm going to give you is over here in this research project folder. And so again, that research project folder is a module right underneath the Start Here, menu item. And the first link that you see in there is the actual assignment. And so the assignment is lengthy. It's multiple pages long. And so when it opens up, it will give you the overall assignment. And I highly recommend you guys reading through this multiple times through the semester. It has a lot of information in it. And the reason that it's so big is because I decided many years ago that giving one assignment at the beginning of the semester for this project with all the information in one spot was a lot easier than giving you assignments throughout the semester where it appeared in different areas on Blackboard. And so yes, this is a big, long document, but it has everything you need to know in it. And so I'm not going to go through this word by word, I'm just going to give you the highlights of it. So this individual research project is really the crux of this class. So yes, you're going to learn about writing papers, and you're going to learn about how to set up a research project and how to carry it out, how to collect data and analyze it. But all of that information is going to be brought together in this assignment. And so to make that a little easier to swallow, because it is pretty intense, I've actually pieced it out into 4 separate assignments with 4 separate due dates. And so I would encourage you that with this research project, that you guys have the mindset of you are the scientist. So you are carrying out this research project, okay? And so it's not a dry lab exercise. Well, it's kind of dry this year, but we aren't gonna physically be collecting data, but we are gonna physically be analyzing data. And so with this project, or with this assignment, we've got 4 different parts. And so the part number 1 is going to be due. I'll just start with that so you guys can write it down. Friday, September 25th by 5 p.m. So we're going to stick to our Friday at 5 p.m. deadlines. And so these 4 assignments are chunked out to build the final paper. And so part 1 of this is starting with really basic practices. So this is creating an outline of the introduction section of the paper. Okay, so the introduction section is going to contain both a literature review and is going to contain things like why you are conducting the study. So what information is missing in literature that your study is going to suffice, as well as the objectives of your study. And so this outline of the introduction section, I've got some examples for you, so don't panic, but is really a key piece of this beginning writing process. So let me just switch back over here really quickly. And if you guys if you look underneath your participants button on whether your phones or your desktops or whatever, and the yes, no columns, how many of you guys have or use outlines regularly in writing assignments? That's what I want to know. Just yes for yes, I use them, or 5, no, I don't. I just start writing. Okay, so if you guys could, well, got a couple more coming in. Just use your participants, yes or no, for that question. Okay, cool. So I've got about 13 yeses and 8 nos, which is totally fine. When I was in your shoes as a student, outlines were just a waste of time because I was always up against a deadline and just needed to start writing, right? So if that sounds familiar, give me a thumbs up, because I was with where you were. So this very much is do as I say, not as I do, okay? So we are, I want you guys to be better than I was as a student. So the outline process is something that I finally picked up and used extensively when I was in graduate school. And I use it for everything now. I use outlines to think through lesson plans, to think through specific lectures, to think through writing a grant, writing a peer-reviewed paper, or a manuscript. I use them for everything. And so this is a powerful, powerful tool that you guys can use to actually start these writing in these big processes. So I'm going to switch back over, and I'm just going to show you the PDF version of this assignment because it's a little bit easier to see maybe. All right, so part 1 is creating an outline of the introduction section. And so if you scroll to the kind of the middle part of this document, you will see, or page 3, you will see an example sample outline format. And so this is something that you can start to think through. So basically, we're going to target 5 paragraphs for the introduction section of your paper. And within that introduction section is going to be a review of literature that is going to be organized and written to help support and justify why your research is needed. And so the introduction has a pretty specific format, and it's really broke out into 5 paragraphs. So we're going to target that 5-paragraph model. Yes, you can do more than this, especially if you are doing an individual research project, like you're doing research in another class, and you get the okay for me to use that project as this as your project for this class. But usually you can get and build justification for any research project within 5 paragraphs. And so paragraph number 1 is going to be the introduction to the literature review. So here you would have a hook sentence, which is going to be focused on the problem, right? So here's like a problem statement. And make a special note of this, you guys. Hook sentences are the most effective when they are tied to a statistic. Okay, so for example, an example of this to really grab the reader's attention would be something like, by the year 2050, there will be 9.8 billion people on Earth, and agriculture production is going to have to become more efficient to address that need. Okay, so right from the beginning, you just grab everybody's attention. And so that very first sentence is your hook sentence. And so as you are starting to build your lit review, your hook sentence needs to be or have to do with some sort of statistics. Okay, and if you cite statistics, what does that mean that you have to do at the end of that sentence?
You have to cite your source.
Exactly. So we do have 1 to 2 citations on average in this first paragraph. All right, so the second kind of area to target within that first paragraph is a description of the overall topic that you've been investigating. So why is it important to the field of study and why you are interested in studying the topic? Okay, and then the third sentence, and usually this ends, it's not the third sentence, it's the third concept in this paragraph, is usually the last sentence of this first paragraph reads like a thesis statement. So if you guys have been through, your English classes or AGRI 482, you know that your thesis statement really drives the direction for the rest of that section. And so we also call this the objective of the literature review. And so this is the objective number 1 that is going to occur in your introduction section. Okay, so it's just analogous to a thesis statement. And so you can say something to the effect of the objective of this literature review is to investigate the fire characteristics in California or something like that, whatever topic of study you end up doing. All right, so that is kind of paragraph 1, is an introduction to the lit review. Paragraph 2, 3, and 4 are thematic paragraphs, meaning that you are going to select a topic and you are going to go find research that supports that topic to help build a case and provide background for why your study is important. Okay, and so just make a note here. The paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, the thematic paragraphs, are not where you review and summarize one paper. Okay, so this is a synthesis of research that is out here. So in these paragraphs, you can easily see 3 to 6 different citations within one of these paragraphs. Okay, and we're gonna work through this. We're gonna do some writing activities. I just want this kind of up front, because these are issues that I've ran into over many years of teaching this class. So one other note about the thematic paragraphs. So for paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, This is where you can use those lessons in the literature review lecture that you guys are working through right now. So if you guys have already been through that lecture, this is going to make sense to you. If you haven't, then it will make sense to you. But as you organize and construct theme A, theme B, and theme C, this is where you need to utilize that funnel approach. So you start with a broader area of the topic, and with theme A, you narrow down in theme B, and you get highly specific in theme C. Okay, because this funnel approach is really important for helping to draw out the justification for why your research project is needed. And it relates it back to the bigger overall picture that society is facing. All right, and then the fifth paragraph is going to be the conclusion. And so this conclusion paragraph is going to appear at the end of the introduction section of a peer-reviewed paper, right before you dive into materials and methods. So this conclusion paragraph is in a very strategic position. Therefore, it actually is we're gonna go through lots of exercises to make it read really, really well, because it contains a bunch of diverse stuff. So the conclusion paragraph needs to summarize what you just talked about. Okay, so you can take 2 to 3 sentences to do that, to summarize what was covered in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. It then needs to, within those sentences, it can discuss the overall strengths of the research that has been conducted, and it can identify weaknesses that the previous research has associated with it. And that weakness, overall weakness, is really important, because that can lead you into a critical sentence in that conclusion paragraph. And that critical sentence is what is missing in literature. And this sentence is really critical, because it really provides succinct justification for why your study is needed. And so it can be something to the effect of, previous research has looked at, fire behavior in California, but not specifically fire behavior in annual grass rangelands or something like that. And then that what is missing, or part of the conclusion, will then lead you into the next steps for the research. So what needs to be done, and then the objective for your study. And so it's a really highly constructed, but very strategic paragraph. And so I've spent entire days writing just a conclusion paragraph. Okay, so this is something that's going to take some time. And then as the end part of this part 1 assignment, you guys are going to attach the references, okay? And so we are citing references in APA format, which I'm hoping you're all familiar with. If you're not, let me know and I will provide you some additional resources. I know some of you might be coming from an MLA background, if you are a transfer student. But the whole idea here is to start a list of references, because every time you turn in a part of this bigger assignment, so parts 2 and 3, you're going to be adding references to what's already been established for part 1. And so it's a growing list of references. All right, so that is part number 1. So you guys are going to create a outline for your introduction section. And so there, on page 4 here, I actually provided, excuse me, an example outline from a research project that was done a few years ago. So the research project was the effects of almond hulls on finishing lamb diets, including growth, feed efficiency, and carcass traits. And so you can see that the title is really effective. And if you guys remember back to the anatomy of the literature, or anatomy of peer-reviewed papers, we talked about what titles needed to contain. So they needed to contain an independent variable or the treatment. It needed to contain a dependent variable or what was going to be measured, and it needed to contain the experimental unit. All right, so if we use this as an example, this title as an example, so the piece I have highlighted here, what is the experimental unit?
Finishing lambs.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, finishing lambs. So it's not just lamb, right? It's finishing lamb. Okay, so the more specific and detailed we can get, the better. Great. All right, so what would be the dependent variables or the traits that are going to be measured?
The growth, feed efficiency, and carcass traits.
Yes, very good. So growth, feed efficiency, and carcass traits are the dependent variables. So what is the independent variable then? What's the treatment's going to be?
The diets.
Okay, get more specific. What are the diets?
Almond hulls.
Yep.
Or none.
Yeah, so the almond hull diet is going to be the independent variable here. All right, so this, now that you guys have that kind of down, be thinking about this when you start gathering more information about your research project. All right, so this example, again, use that 5-paragraph format. So the introduction was basically broke out into the first paragraph here. I'm not a big fan of, or the first sentence, I'm not a big fan of it. I think statistics should be associated with this, but it'll work for our purposes. So, you know, everything from there's a need out there to find alternative feed sources to for finishing diets in lambs. Okay, and so then this person provided some good justification as an introduction into this topic area. So nutrients provided by byproducts can increase efficiency in carcass traits. High energy supplementation increases digestibility, which decreases intake and days on feed, which feeds directly into profitability for producers. Okay, varying supplement levels can maximize efficiency. Okay, and so the objective of this review is to see if supplementing almond hulls into finishing lamb diets would be beneficial on a production basis. And so this objective will work. I am going to encourage you guys to use more professional language than just to see. So a good, you know, synonym here would be to investigate, right? And rather than to see. So we're going to make you guys scientists. So we're going to up the jargon game. All right. And then this outline leads us into their first body paragraph. And so they decided to focus on the dietary needs in a finishing lamb diet. And so they constructed this paragraph so that there was a statistic associated with this first body paragraph as well, which is totally fine. Okay, so then they got into the literature. And so what do you notice about all 3 pieces of this paragraph here?
They're all cited.
They're all cited, but they're all differently cited, right? They're all different citations. So this individual didn't just choose this Whitney and Lepton paper and summarize it and make that paragraph 1. Okay, so they chose 3 different peer-reviewed pieces of literature, and they utilized the results of those studies to create 1 paragraph. And so that is what we call synthesizing data, okay, and synthesizing literature. And so that synthesis process is very much what we're looking for as you guys are building these body paragraphs. All right, so let's back out of this for just a second and look at paragraph 2, 3, and 4. And remember the filter thing from the lit review lectures that you guys may or may not have already been through. So this individual is starting really broad, right? So what are finishing lamb dietary needs? And then they're getting more specific. So let's look at the nutritional value of almond hulls. Okay, so narrowing it down to one residue or one byproduct. And then it gets even more specific by combining those two and looking at what research has been done with byproducts as a supplementation for finishing lamb diets. Okay, and in all of these, they are using many pieces of literature. Okay, and so that is the goal here, is to create 3 body paragraphs that synthesize literature that has already been published on projects conducted. And then the final paragraph here is the conclusion paragraph. Again, this is going to appear at the very end of the introduction, but right before you go into materials and methods. And so the conclusion paragraph here summarized what was presented in the body paragraph. So almond hulls are high in energy and digestibility and are a great source of supplementation. Okay, they narrowed it down by saying feeding different levels of almond hulls will help find a way to optimize feed efficiency. And then they went into feeding almond hulls as the objective. Okay, so by feeding almond hulls into the diet, growth, feed efficiency, and carcass traits will be looked at to see if there is a difference, that if there's more of a difference than without. And so this is not the most ideally worded outline, and I'm going to work with you guys, or most ideally worded objective, and I'm going to work with you guys to make that a lot more clear. But this person clearly gets the justification of the structure and the point of a literature review. So you can refer back to both of these examples, which are included on pages 3 and 4 of the assignment. Okay, and then I'm not going to go into too much depth on part 2, 3, and 4, other than to say part 2 is going to contain basically the title, author, institution, introduction, and materials and methods, plus the literature cited. That's going to be due on October 16th. And then part 3 is going to be results and discussion. And that one's going to be due on Friday, November 13th. Ooh, Friday the 13th. Fun. And then the part 4 is really a lesser amount of work, ideally, or in an ideal world, because it's revisions to part 1 or to part 2 and 3, plus an abstract and a conclusion. And so part 4 is going to be due on Friday, December 11th. So Friday of Dead Week. And so if you guys want to add those to your calendars, that would be my guest. They will pop up on your calendars a little bit later on. So part 1 will pop up here in the next couple of days, because I'm getting ready to build that assignment in Blackboard right now. And so that's an overview of what the assignment is. And so for the individual research project. And so now I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about the 2 research projects that are going to be offered for the class. And I'm just going to start with a basic introduction of how this started for me when we did the research. And so these are projects that have already kind of been done and analyzed, and but not necessarily published. So let me share my screen again. All right, and let's do presenter view. Okay, so can you guys see the problem number 1 slide?
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. I never know with Zoom. All right, so problem number 1, or research project number 1, really started with our family, as well as many other operations in Northern California, as well as the beef unit, having really poor reproductive rates during the drought of 2014, 2015, and 2016. And so we started conversations with our extension folks and our county extension agents, and they ended up, developing this project that we were a part of. And so just to give you a little bit of background, so Diatley Cattle Company, which is located in MacArthur, as well as the Chico State Beef Unit, have experienced poor reproductive rates in their herds over the past few years. Okay, so both operations have eliminated the following areas that could be causing the issue. So they knew drought was a potential issue, but they looked at their data and their pregnancy rates and was able to rule that out. They knew that the feed quantity could be an issue, but again, they looked at their reproductive data and ruled out the quantity of feed issue as well as the macro quality feed issue. And so what I mean by macro quality is the feed that was available in a large amount, okay, or adequate amount to the cattle, and had adequate levels of protein and energy. So those macro components. This could have been an issue because of fertility, both in the cows and the bulls during the breeding season. But they looked at their data, they ran some DNA, they had equal calving rates from all of their bulls, so they knew that it wasn't a fertility issue. And they invest a lot of money in animal health, so they knew that it couldn't be an animal health issue, and they had a vet confirm that. So just to give you guys an idea, so I think last year when I ran the books for our operation, we're a pretty small operation. We've got about but somewhere between 120 and 150 cows. I never know really, because Dad's in charge of that part. But we regularly spend $8,000 to $10,000 on animal health stuff every year. And so if it's an animal health issue, oh my gosh, I'm going to be super upset. So what we decided after comparing notes between what we were experiencing in the beef unit and what we were experiencing at home with our extension agents, we've decided that it could potentially have something to do with the mineral program. And so what we're going to do, the mindset that we're going to take with this project is the same one that I took when I carried it out the first time. And so this is the information that we are starting with. And so where do you start with this process of researching this problem to get an answer to the producers as well as the other scientists? Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time asking questions and having you guys think about this right now, because I want to switch gears and talk about study number 2. But I do want you guys to kind of think through this through the weekend, because what we're going to do on Monday is we're going to do some strategizing sessions on how to go about finding information about this problem. And that's going to help you to write your literature review. So I just want this to kind of be in the back of your mind, and I'll post these slides in that research project module as well.
Dr. Diatley, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So for part 1 of this assignment, is it like the lamb finishing document that you showed us? We're just doing like kind of like bullet points a little bit, or are we going to actually write out the essay?
Great question. So outlines are bullet points, right? Okay. So they are not complete sentences. They are just fragments with citations attached to it. Okay. So and this is one thing, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is something I run into all the time is students, especially those that tend to just sit down and start writing a paper. That's what they'll do. And so they'll write the whole introduction section, and then they'll go and take complete sentences and paste it into an outline format. And I'm telling you, I can smell that, guys, from a mile away. So don't do that. Okay, start with the other way, because the whole goal here is to teach you a new skill. Okay, so in order to do that, we've got to start from the ground up, and we're going to work on this during the next couple of Zoom sessions on Monday afternoon. So next week and the week after. But great question. So outlines are bulleted forms without complete sentences, but citations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so research project number 2 also is a real one. So the Chico State Beef Unit, for those of you guys that have been out to the rangeland, has about 250 acres of what we classify annual grass rangeland on north of Chico off of Meridian Road. And so the beef unit uses this rangeland to calve out the mature cows, so the 3-year-olds and older. And so they're shipped there in the fall, usually after about an inch of precipitation or December 1st, whichever comes first. And those females graze and calve out there in the winter. And then they're shipped back in the late spring, usually in April, the first part of May. And so we ended up having a fire out there in 2015 because a dumb neighbor, what in the height of the drought in October with north winds, I don't think I can paint any more stupidity on this, was grinding with a whole bunch of grass underneath him, grinding metal, and it sparked and took off really, really quickly. And so it actually burned more of our neighbor's property than ours, but it took out about an acre in the northeast corner of ours. It took out the fences, and then Cal Fire had to cut a cat trail through our area as well. And so when this happened, I was actually on a plane coming home from Kansas City, and Brendan called me and was like, hey, did you know the range burned? And I was like, oh my gosh. So I went out there the next morning, and luckily it was only an acre, but it really provided a good case study for an ongoing research project that was being conducted by UC Cooperative Extension. So our colleagues at UC Davis came up and we assessed the property, and they're like, you know what, this is a perfect case study to add to a statewide study that they were doing over a 3-year period. And so we got the fence rebuilt. Cooperative Extension specialists came up and pitched this idea to us. And so they cited really the following background issues. So their bigger study is having a lot of these locations throughout the state to demonstrate the resiliency of California rangeland. And the reason that this is important is because at the federal level, federal land management policy really states that rangeland allotments, regardless of where they're at, they could be in Nevada or Idaho or California, that have a burn go through them, cannot be grazed by the permittee for 2 years after the fire. And so it's a blanket policy. And we know that blanket policies are seldom beneficial across all ecosystems. And so it's the goal of this research project to help make the argument that California annual grass rangeland is very different than an ecosystem in Nevada or Colorado or Idaho. And so the reason for this is because California has a unique Mediterranean climate, which favors annual grass growth. And so annual plant carcasses such as thatch or residual dry matter can actually contribute to fine fuel for wildfire, which is what we're seeing today. It's burning through a lot of annual grass and brush right now. And so the grasses here in the Central Valley of California are much different compared to the perennial grasses that you would see in like the Great Basin, like in Nevada and Idaho. And so that kind of provides some background for us setting up a study for this piece of property that was burned, that was owned by Chico State. And so those are kind of just some really brief overviews of what the projects are going to look like. Essentially, research project number 1 is going to be a mineral study. And so to where we're actually going to isolate a handful of minerals, and we're going to pull blood on cows in 3 different locations, send those samples off to the lab, and then analyze the results. Location is actually going to end up being the treatment for problem number 1. And then problem number 2, we're actually going to set up cages, both in the burn area and the non-burned area. And we're going to monitor it for 3 years. And so every year we're going to go out and collect not only forage data, but species data. So we're really interested in what species of grasses come back differently in the burn area compared to the non-burn area. And so if you guys are into plants at all, this might be the project for you, because we're really looking at things like invasive species, so medusa head, and then beneficial species like vetch and fillery and soft chest and those type of plants. So that's just a little bit of background on the 2 research projects. And so think about these over the weekend. And on Monday, when we get into our groups at 2, 3, or 4, I'm going to have you guys get into breakout sessions and actually kind of problem solve through some of this information and identify next steps. So all right, so that's, I'm sorry, I kept you over by 2 minutes. I'm sorry. Does anybody have any quick questions with where we're going or what we're doing or what is due this week?
So you said that the outline is due this week, but what is the outline on?
No. So the outline is not due until September 29th.
Oh, so what is due this week?
So just the video lectures for week 3. Yeah. So just the video lectures for week 3 are due on Friday. You guys are just getting this big ass assignment to set the pace for the rest of the semester. So part 1, which is the outline, is not due until September 29th. And we're gonna do work on that stuff together over the next couple of weeks. Okay. Oh, the 25th. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Sorry, the 25th, not the 29th. My bad. Okay, cool. Well, that is what I have for you guys. I just wanted to kind of touch base and introduce you to this. We're going to continue to keep talking about this. And so don't forget to get your lecture quizzes in this week by Friday at 5 p.m. And then we're going to meet on Zoom next Monday at 2, 3, and 4 p.m. So you just got to pick one of them. You don't have to be there for all 3 unless you really like me a lot. Awesome. All right, I'll hang out for a few more minutes, but have a good day, guys. Good luck getting through week 3, whatever it is.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Casey.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Kind of off topic, but it's about the fires.
Sure.
Do you know anyone that needs help, like evacuating cattle or anything?
I don't think so. Let me check something real quick while you're on here.
I mean, I have a truck and trailer, so.
I haven't seen a ton of, they started evacuations yesterday evening.
Yeah.
With the thought that it could get bad by this morning. So they started everybody way early compared to before. So I'm hoping they got a lot of people out. But let me.
Well, because like last night I checked it and like I was like, oh, we're all good for the night. And I woke up this morning like, oh God.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I hadn't seen blue sky at all until I was driving back from Reading yesterday, and the north wind just pushed everything south. But the smoke coming off of that bear fire was crazy.
Well, the crazy thing is we drove up to Bucks Lake Monday and we're hiking up there, and all that is now burned.
Yeah, I know. And so I don't know. It's interesting, the politics around it. So that area hadn't burned in a long time, so they were letting it burn.
Yeah.
And so, but then the winds hit and it blew up again. So I don't know who to blame on this one, Cal Fire or not. So
No, because like
yeah,
I have a deer tag for up there, so we're scouting, and I was like, this stuff is thick. Like it was
yeah,
gross up there.
yeah,
So I mean, it's not shocking that it burnt so quick.
yeah. So I'm not seeing any posts with Cowboy 911 or anything. So
Okay. Well, I'm
uh,
on that too, but I just figured you might know a little bit
yeah.
more.
So I know one of the original organizers of that, and
Is it Justin?
no, it's Jerry Kirk,
Okay.
and he hasn't posted anything underneath there. He's usually one of the first ones to respond because he's retired. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I'm assuming they're okay. I know they have the fairgrounds set up for evacuations, um, and Tracy is the livestock and extension specialist for Butte County. Keeps sending me updates. So if stuff comes up, I'll be happy to share it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
you
just
bet.
feel bad sitting here and not doing anything.
I know, me too. But at the same time, that's probably what we need to do just to
I
stay out of the
know.
way. So,
Well,
but
for the campfire where I keep my horse, we had to evacuate 20 horses out of there, so that was not fun.
yeah,
But
I feel so bad there's a lot of people dealing with PTSD right now too.
I know all of like Laurel Concow and Polga got put on warning. I was like, oh my God, these poor
Yeah,
people.
yeah, I know. It's sad. So,
Well, I have another class, so I'll hop
okay.
off. But have a good day.
Thanks, you too. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Hey, Sean, did you have a question? Okay, if you do, please just email me. I'm going to go ahead and end the session.